But I wanted to ask you too, as you said that you learned your negotiation tactics from the bank. Like, what would you say, like, would be some negotiation tactics, if you're able to share any of them, that like you can benefit like a newer investor?
Well, let me tell you, first of all, the fastest and easiest way to save money in a real estate deal is negotiating, right? It's just paper, right? And as you know, that doesn't always have to start up front, right? Locking down the contract is the number one. And then using the rules of real estate, which is disclosure, and finding problems, right? That either the seller is going to want to fix for you, credit for you, or grind. So that's what I saw a lot. That's where I learned a lot. We call that the grind. So even if we're in contract with somebody and they say, hey, absolutely, you're buying it as is. Absolutely, you agreed to everything here in the contract. But then I go in and I do my inspections anyway for informational purposes only. But I'm going to share that information with the agent and say, hey, listen, I'm good with this deal, walking away from it or closing it, but I'm going to need I'll give you an example today on one. I told my agent, he's like, you check the box, as is, where is? I said, I get it. Go back to him and tell him I want it at list price because I bid it over list. So just go tell him I want it at list price because we couldn't get through the pipe because the sewer scope didn't go through. And he said, okay, great. So that's the grind. Always grinding the mold test. Okay. I don't like to use that ever really, because that's pretty nasty, but you can find mold in every property. Everybody should know that. And once you find mold, it has such a negative connotation that it's an easy solution to fix, but people are so scared of it that you're going to be able to negotiate. So I saw a lot of that stuff, not being afraid to walk away from your earnest money because you've got a bad deal. Okay. The reason I bought the 2 properties in Vegas is because I was scared to walk away from my earnest money. So I learned that lesson, not walking away from earnest money. Not being afraid to take a lowball offer. I would just watch these banks take stuff that I thought they would never take, but because guys were watching the time on the market, how many times they've adjusted, they knew that the bank was probably going to take something. So paying attention to days on market is important because especially if it's an REO client or somebody else, they're going to want to take it. Not just assuming that you're going to get a great deal because it's a foreclosure. Seeing value where there's not value. I'll tell you one thing I learned from the banks that I think is a big thing that first-time investments can really low is too many people rely on tax assessor or agent assessor information. And none of the agents measure property these days or anything like that. And so a lot of times you'll buy a property that you think you're getting a great deal on and it's smaller than what you thought you bought. Or in a best case scenario, it's bigger than they thought it was. So I always measure my houses, and then if I measure it and they have an extra addition in Las Vegas, I get the county assessor to come out here and they only appraise based on what is measured, right? They don't care about whether it's permitted or not. So then that's going to increase my value if I get that assessed as new square footage. So that's a little trick from like banks and negotiating and finding out, like, for instance, if you found out that, like, let's say you knew it was too small and you went in there knowing that, and then you measured it, and then you said, hey, bank, guess what? I was buying this at X, but you marketed it as Y. Now I need to get it for this.
It's so funny. That happened to us recently as well, too, on a property where they were marketing as 2,600. We measure it, it's only 2,000. Yeah, that offer that you made at 639 was based on 2,600 square feet. Now it's only 2,000 square feet. That's 600 square feet less. And the appraiser factored that in as well too. I love the fact that you said about seeing value where other people don't see value. Because I think, like, I'll give you an example. I bought a 25-unit apartment in California, and most people are like, oh my God, that's a really low cap rate. Like, right. You're not really making that much cash flow. But in California, there's a law called an accessory dwelling unit law where you can build on top of the garages or inside the garages. Right now, I have permits with the city for 9 additional units. So I'm taking this 25-unit apartment and I'm turning it into a 34-unit apartment. But that's part of just having the right mindset and mentality of seeing value where maybe sometimes other people are not seeing value as well, too, as well.
Right. And you know, with commercial, everything is NOI. So if you, like, on my places, you know, you add I had $400 and renting out my parking spaces to my neighbors, and it adds like what, depending on the cap rate, could be up to $50,000 in value just on that small amount of money. So if you understand that, finding that value and realizing that correlation between the NOI and the cap rate, you're going to make some big money by increasing that revenue. Plus, you know, apartments, one thing I've seen, I just bought a 31 unit in Kansas City, and we're going to add storage in the basement, right? Because that's additional revenue. And as our sub metering is going on, we're going to also add internet as a service. And then we'll just spend extra money, you know, putting a big Wi-Fi together so that the customer, you know, and obviously we're not going to say that we're the owner of that. It's going to be another business like, you know, Kansas City Internet Supply or something like that, because, you know, people think, hey, if the guy owns everything, he's you know, there's, you know, the names mean a lot in separation in business entities. So yeah, you're 100% right for what you did with that property. And I would tell you, you know, one thing I don't like is laundry. I don't think that's a great idea for value, but I do like storage.